I'm talking with Dwayne McLean. He's with Lashley Land and Recreational Brokers. Dwayne, I wanted to talk with you here for a minute about the current market for land values here. It sounds like interest is still pretty high, isn't it? Whether it's cropland or pasture land. What seems to be the hottest?
Well, right now there is interest in cropland, but it is at a price. The commodities have backed up a little bit, so those little buyers have pulled in their horns a little bit. The hot item right now is grass, pasture land. The producers are in a desperate situation trying to find some pasture land.
So how long has it been that way?
The pasture land situation has just really come to a head this spring. With the drought last year, everybody has kind of used up their resources between the feed and the grass, and now they need to find some place to take those cows and sustain the genetics that they put into them.
So do you think the cropland market has run its course and peaked out already now?
I don't believe so. Of course, I'm an eternal optimist in the business that I am. But, we got to sell something on the current market and find out where that market's at and see where we're at. But right now, it's a stagnant situation.
Well, it's interesting that you say the rangeland has really picked up in value here lately. Give me some examples of what it used to be and what it's worth these days.
Well, I think that the situation, say, east of Highway 83 to 183, that ground that you would have brought $600 an acre 2 years ago is bringing from anywhere from $8,000 to $1,000. You get east of 183 and that area, then you're looking at $1,000 to $1,300, $1,400 an acre for grazing land. And then go back west of 83, anything that would have brought $350 to $450 2 years ago. This year it will bring $550 to $650, maybe even up to $700. It's just a strong market everywhere. They're looking for, I get calls every day, people looking for grass. I realize that it's hard to come by, and the need is out there for it.
So are these ranchers that are buying all this ground, or is there too much competition from outside investors?
It's mostly the cowman. It's mostly the rancher. Yeah, there's farmers out there that have a cow herd that are, have that extra ability to sustain that cow herd. They're probably the strongest in the market, but the ranchers, they're becoming more in need of it, and they're wanting to be able to keep, like I say, keep the genetics that they built into their herd, and they're strong in the market also.
Let me throw out a scenario here. What if grain prices maybe peak out this year? Wouldn't that be a golden opportunity for the cattlemen to increase their herd, and maybe at the same time we would start getting some rain and help these rangelands?
Oh, I believe so, but it's hard to look into the future. My crystal ball doesn't tell me what is going to happen for sure, but if grains fall, if we see $4 corn, the feed stuff's going to get cheaper, and it's going to help the cowman out a little bit better and to sustain their herds and stuff. But we'll probably see more players decide to get back into the cows because calves are going to be higher, and it looks like if the profit margins are a little bit heavier or a little bit higher for the cowmen, then we'll always see more people get into it. It's just like in the farming situation when we had $7 corn. Well, that's expand our acres. Well, if we're going to see $1,000 calves, let's buy more cows. The only problem we're seeing right now is we can't find a place to run our cows.
I know every market has its price, but at the price that you're currently getting for rangeland, can you come up with enough acres now?
It's hard to find a seller. The situation is a lot of the land's tied up in a lease, and if it's an inheritance situation where a death in the family or something, and there wasn't a lease, if it's an owner-operated situation, then that family can capitalize on the situation, sell the ranch, and give that buyer an immediate possession, immediate opportunity to use it. Those situations, they happen every day, but they're very few and far between.
You were saying the situation seems actually somewhat desperate, doesn't it, for some cattle folks?
Oh, yes. I get a call every day. A lady called just a little while ago. She's looking for grass for 225 head. And, she's broadened her search between, she's willing to look from O'Neill to Thetford for grass. And, they searched our website at lashleyland.com. She actually searched our sold listings trying to find if there was something out there that would fit her need. And that's what she was calling about, seeing if that buyer on that property was an investor, wanted to rent it out, or if they were an owner-operated.
Well, I remember last fall when some land in Iowa brought about $22,000 an acre. Everybody was scratching their head if they could actually make that work. That was farmers that bought that. Same seems to be holding true for ranch land. If prices would turn around for the cattle and we would get some rain, does $1,300 sound like a new normal or not?
I don't know if it's a new normal. It's a situation where, that's an elevated or an increase of probably 40-50% on what the market was 2 years ago. If the market only backs up 20-30%, well, we're still 20-30% higher than what it was. And, that might become the new normal. As long as we can get into a situation where the calf price stays good and they can sustain that to a certain situation, then maybe it will be the new normal.
Well, of course, you guys at Lastly Land and Recreational Brokers, you cover a big geographical territory. You sell land all over the place. Does it seem to be a hotter market in Nebraska than maybe some other areas in surrounding states?
Well, I think the situation that we run into is the fact that why people look at Nebraska is the water. I mean, the Oglala Aquifer has just created an opportunity for when it does get dry and you don't have to depend on surface water. You don't have to depend on your stock dams in order to water your cows and stuff. You got the windmills out there. You got your submersible pumps and your pipelines and stuff. That's what creates an opportunity in Nebraska over, say, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma and such, where you got surface water dependency. And that's what a lot of the situation was 2 years ago in Texas. When they was in their drought situation, their water holes went dry. And even if they got a little bit of rain, they couldn't turn the cows out because the water holes were dry. They couldn't water the cows. And that's why those cows come up here into the Nebraska area, the Sandhills and stuff, is because you can always depend on having water. Now, granted, if you don't have any feed, you can dry lodge your cows and utilize some of the feedstuffs that are available out there. So to answer your question, I think Nebraska has, got the light with the water.
Interesting stuff. Thanks. I appreciate it, Dwayne.
Thank you, Marlin, for your time.
That, of course, is Dwayne McLean. He's with Lastly Land and Recreational Brokers. They're based out of North Platte. I'm Marlin Bohling for the Rural Radio Network.